This is Fat to Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Hey there. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. This is episode number 51, and I'm your host, Amy English. How are you doing this week? I hope your week is off to a good start. It is the first full week of the new year, 2025. It's kind of hard to believe that New Year's was a week ago because I don't know about you, but for me, it feels like it was like a month ago. That whole time space thing during the holiday season is always so wacky, right? And then by the end of January, it's going to feel like January was like 6 months long. Happens every year. It's one thing we can expect to happen, right? Okay. How is your week so far? Because I don't know about you, but mine's been a little bumpy. This whole reentry phase after an extended period of time off or out or half in, half out, right? Because that's how it was during the holidays for us here. I mean, my kids were off school, but my husband and I, we're both working, a little bit here and there. We took some time off. And for some reason, getting back into the groove this week, at least for me, has been a little sticky. So I just want to say, if you're experiencing a bumpy re-entry into the first full week of the new year, you're definitely not alone. And I thought, we would talk about this a little bit today. I have several things maybe to talk about today. I'm just going to go with this and see what happens. Because the re-entry this week has been a little bit rough, my brain's been scattered and I've had some ideas, but not really sure what I wanted to talk about and just kind of all over the place and just feeling a little bit off. So if that's you, welcome. And I hope you find this helpful. And if I did not already say this, I don't think I did because we're only 2 minutes in. Listen. Follow along on this podcast journey. If you've listened to any of the episodes of the Confidence Chronicles and you've gotten some help, if they've been helpful for you or if you've enjoyed them, give this podcast a follow. And I would love it if you left a review. Leave a review. Let me know what you think. First of all, I'd love to hear from you. And also, that following along and leaving a review just helps get this out to more listeners. And let's face it, we all know that a lot of people could benefit from this podcast, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with food, who are struggling with overeating, emotional eating, and binge eating, who are struggling with body image, right? Confidence, overall confidence, and who are continuing to struggle in that restrictive, toxic diet mentality. Okay. And it's the new year, right? And we all know what happens in January. All the ads are circulating about all the ways to be the best you, right? New year, new you, finally achieve your goal, yada, yada, yada. But it's all just more of the same nonsense. I got to say, though, I think that I finally curated my social media feed to where I'm not getting as many of those ads. Now watch, my phone is sitting right here next to me. So after I finish recording this, I'll see if it heard me. We'll see if I have some ads. But I was really surprised going into this year that I noticed it the other day. I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of advertisements about, all the latest weight loss, diet nonsense. So that's interesting, although it is only the 8th. So we'll see. Yes, I'm recording this. Here's the other thing. And this all speaks to the reentry, which is what we're going to talk about today, because this week has been a little bit bumpy and I've been a little bit out of sorts. That's what we'll call it. I've been out of sorts, not really in a funk, just out of sorts. So normally I record the podcast on a Monday or a Tuesday, right? Because then that gives me plenty of time to get everything uploaded so that this is available on Thursday mornings. Well, this week has not gone as planned. So today is Wednesday the 8th, and this is going to be available tomorrow on the 9th. So it's going to be a little bit of a mad dash this afternoon to get everything set up. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens in order to get the podcast uploaded and ready for listeners. And even though I don't edit, because I don't edit my podcast, because like, why? I wouldn't edit this if we were having a conversation in person. Why am I going to edit it now? But there are other things, there's the intro and outro. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but there's things that happen. Anyway, I'm a little scattered. Okay. Hi. But let's pretend we're just having a nice coffee chat and see where this goes today, okay? Because I do have some notes that I'm going to refer to because again, feeling a little bit out of sorts, not sure what the brain was going to want to produce today, so I thought it best to have a little bit of something for me to work off of. All right. Also, I hope that you had a chance to listen to episode 50. Because in that episode, that might have been one of my favorite episodes, by the way. In that episode, I shared a really powerful exercise on how to feel better about your body. Okay. So if you are re-entering, adjusting to this new week in the new year, first week in the new year, if you're struggling with how the holidays went, maybe like me, you had a few too many Christmas cookies, okay? Or you indulged a little bit in the holiday festivities. I drank on New Year's, which is a very rare occurrence, but I did. And that might have something to do with this reentry as well. Anyway, if you're someone who overindulged and now you're feeling bad about that, or you're frustrated, or you're just trying to kind of like figure out where to go from here, that episode's going to be really helpful because with the exercise that I shared, which was really the gratitude journal for your body, that is going to help you lay a really nice foundation for starting out the new year. Okay. And we're not laying a new foundation because you are your foundation. Okay. And we love you as you are. I think I said that in the last episode. What we're doing is we're strengthening the foundation. We're strengthening it in a way where you're learning to appreciate your body, okay, for all it does for you and exactly where it is right now. Okay. Because here's the one thing I have learned over the last almost 10 years. Okay. If you want to make changes, if whatever goal you're working on, okay, if you are looking to improve or make changes or whatever language you use, okay, if you're working on something related to yourself and your body, okay, one of the best ways to ensure that you will be consistent with that is by learning to like your body. And I know toxic diet mentality that we've all been stewed in for the last however many years, decades. I know that it seems counterintuitive. Like, what do you mean? I can't possibly like my body. The number of women who have said to me that they can't possibly like their bodies, not until they lose, 20, 50, 100 pounds. Okay. Many, many people have shared that with me. And I used to be the same way. What do you mean? I can't like my body now. I got to lose this weight first. Okay. If you find yourself in that camp, then I'm going to gently nudge you with lots of love to go and listen to that episode, because here's the deal. When you start to appreciate your body, when you have gratitude for your body, it changes the way that you treat your body. Okay. It changes the way you prioritize your body. And it actually, when you have gratitude and appreciation for your entire body, I'm talking everything that you see and everything that you don't see. Okay. I'm talking about the organs inside that keep things moving, okay, that keep things going, all of it. When you find appreciation and gratitude for all that you are, this vessel, it changes the way you treat yourself. It changes the way you fuel yourself. It changes the things you do. You start to make this vessel a priority, okay? And you start to think about what food feels best, okay? What drinks feel best, right? This is when I started noticing water. I drink a lot of water in a day, and my body feels so much better because of it. Movement. I don't know about you, but when I exercise, like it doesn't matter what I do. I could just go do 10 squats right now. I will feel better, right? There's a lot of different exercise videos that I find on YouTube, and some of them are so fun. There's this one, it's called Walk at Home, and they just have these walking videos, and they're a little bit more like aerobics, like especially like back in the day aerobics, if you want to think about it. But I will tell you, even if I do like a 15 or 20-minute video, I always feel amazing afterwards. Okay. So again, feeling better about your body is going to help you make the choices, do the things that make it easier to take care of this body that you care about. Okay. So that was a very long explanation to say, go listen to episode 50. All right. Here's the thing. So we're re-entering in, we're maybe having a bumpy re-entry into the first week of the new year. Oh my goodness gracious. You know what? I'm not stopping this. I'm just going to keep going because I guarantee I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's scattered this week. I know that for certain. So, what can you do when you're adjusting after the holidays or anytime? Because listen, this re-entry phase can happen after vacation. This happened to us back in June when we got back from Ireland, because we were gone for 2.5 weeks outside of the country, right? And I remember the adjustment, getting back into a groove after the holidays, and it can just feel hard. It can feel challenging, and you just maybe struggling to figure out what to do. And that's one of the reasons I was struggling with what to talk about on today's episode, which might be why I sound a little bit scattered if I do. It's like one foot is still in the holidays and one foot is here now, right? And just trying to like adjust and get back into a groove. So what are things you can do, especially if you're feeling like you're in a funk? And you know what I want to say? Let me just back up a second, because it's not just the reentry after the holidays or a vacation. It can even be the reentry after any kind of life situation, any kind of curveball that life has thrown. Anytime, this is interesting, anytime our world is shaken up, okay? And I know maybe for the holidays and the vacation, it's not so much a shakeup, right? It's just you've been in a different phase, and then you're trying to get back to normal. But this also, I mean, I think about this with my breast cancer diagnosis, right? Like my world was shook up. A curveball was definitely thrown. And it's kind of along the same lines. It's getting back to that normal. It's getting back into your groove. And so how do you handle that? And one thing that I'll share with you from my life coach training, and this was from my teacher, Martha Beck. I went through her life coach training program back in 2015. And wild that it was 10 years ago. Holy crap. Wow. Anyway, one of the things she talked about was these different phases that we go through in life. And when something happens, so when we have a curveball, an unexpected thing that happens, again, I'll use my breast cancer as an example, right? I'm sure you have your thing, right? That has happened. It could be anything. It could be loss of a job. It could be loss of a loved one. It could be a divorce, separation. It could be buying a new house, right? Selling a house, moving. Oh gosh, moving across the country. Anything like that really changes your world. And I know those those seem much bigger than just re-entry after the holidays or after a vacation. I get it. but I want to share this because I think it's really important and it's helpful. And I know it's been helpful for the clients that I work with. And it's been helpful for me. And I do think that this could be helpful even when we're re-entering after the holiday season or any time away. So I'm going to practice this too. All right. But here's how it goes. So Martha Beck talks about these different phases, right? Anytime your world is kind of shook up. And you could probably Google this. Actually, there's a great article she wrote that talks about this in greater detail. Anyway, one of the phases is when you kind of turn into what she calls person soup. Okay. And it's this, she describes it as like the butterfly, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm just going to get to my point eventually here. So there's this point when you have this shakeup where you are kind of like person soup, right? And that's really when the caterpillar is dissolving and going to become this butterfly. Anyway, when you're in this person soup phase, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're just kind of melted, right? It's kind of maybe where I've been this week, right? This person soup phase where you're just maybe feeling like in a funk, not really sure what to do. The reentry is rough. Maybe you're not sure how to, get your bearings, that kind of thing, right? Your person soup. You're dealing with whatever has transpired, whatever has happened. And and a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I've done this a lot of times in the past. I would think, okay, just got to like suck it up and just like get going and, do the next thing, set the next goal, whatever. And a lot of times that's just not helpful. And what can be really helpful when we're in this person soup phase of our lives is just taking 10 minutes at a time. 10 minutes at a time. Do things that are comfortable. Wrap yourself in a blanket. Take a nap if you can. Have a nice cup of coffee or tea. Listen to some music. Do a little writing, maybe some journaling. Read a book if you have a minute. And listen, I know a lot of us have to get back to work, right? And you just got to go back and you do have to get back into your regular scheduled program, right? But where throughout that day can you spend your 10 minutes, right? Maybe by having a nice cup of coffee or tea, right? Or even a glass of water, okay? Doing things, and even if you can't do these things at work for whatever reason, hopefully you can pick one or two things that you can do on your break or after work, right? Or if you're home and you're busy with little ones running around or whatever you've got going on in your world, just remembering that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. Heck, I didn't even have this episode figured out, right? For today, for this week, okay? You don't have to have it all figured out. But what you can do is you can take it 10 minutes at a time as you move forward or sideways, okay? Heck, sometimes we're going backwards. But 10 minutes at a time is my point, all right? And that just feels a little bit better than trying to like climb the mountain, okay? Because I don't know about you, but this week there'd be no mountain climbing happening. Okay. So I'm going to take it 10 minutes at a time and just see how it goes. And I will share this with you. So there's a number of things you can do as you're re-entering, as you're adjusting to, getting back into your groove. A couple of examples that I've got here. Oh, and this is a fun one. Okay. And I did this today. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast, although we're 51 episodes right now. So maybe I have, who the heck knows. Have a temper tantrum on paper. Okay. Here's what this sounds like. This has been like super helpful over the years for me. And what's really interesting is I did this today. I had my temper tantrum on paper And what I realized is it's been a long time since I've had a temper tantrum on paper. Let me get into this and explain this to you because it's super fun. Well, maybe not fun. Fun's not the right word. But it is helpful. Okay. So I used to do this a lot back in the day, a couple years ago is when I started doing this. When I would notice just feeling down, feeling in a funk, feeling like not myself, right? A scattered, a little bit just out of sorts, like today. And so what I would do is I would take my journal, okay, always with me, and I would just whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling, write it out on paper. There were times I would scream on paper, just and all that would be is I would just be writing really fast, really hard. I mean, there were times I ripped the page, right? But just getting it all out with pen and paper, old fashioned, okay? And I call it a temper tantrum on paper because it was an opportunity to just let out whatever I was thinking, no matter how petty, no matter how silly, no matter how anyone else would judge it, no matter how I would judge it, just get it out. Let myself just let loose on paper. And so I would call it my temper tantrum on paper. And sure, sometimes I would cry, sometimes I would laugh, sometimes I would just be really angry writing. But what it does, and it did this today, is it gives me an opportunity to get everything out of my head. Okay. My head and my heart, right? Especially if I'm feeling funky. I just write. You don't edit this, okay? You don't even have to worry about punctuation. No one's going to see this unless you want to show it to somebody. I have never shown anyone a temper tantrum on paper, okay? Nor would I. It is really just your opportunity to get it out. Put it just get it out on paper. You can destroy the pages when you're done if you want, or you can keep them in your notebook. It's entirely up to you. Okay. You figure out what works best for you. But you want to do it, in a safe environment, obviously, and just get everything out. And I did that today and I ended up writing 4 pages in this of just whatever. And after that, after I got it out, I felt better. Now, there was a time in my life when I used to have a temper tantrum on paper, probably several times a week. And then it went to weekly, and then probably every couple of weeks or so. I can tell you the last time I had a temper tantrum on paper was probably about a year and a half ago. It's been a while. It's been a minute. I'm not sure I had one in 2024, to be honest with you. So you can see that it's not something I had to keep doing, right? But it's helpful to just I like to think of it when we have these thoughts swirling and we have these feelings and we're just kind of everything's kind of jumbled up together, right? And we're just feeling, and it might make you feel anxious or whatever, frustrated or overwhelmed, right? It can be so helpful to just take a few minutes. And yeah, it probably took me about 10-15 minutes to write 4 pages. To take that time and just get it all out. Just do a dump. Otherwise, it's like alphabet soup in your brain, right? You've got all these words, all these letters, all these sentences swirling around. Get them out. Because then what happens is it's hard to explain, but it's kind of like it opens up space where since you've gotten it out and you've gotten it on paper, you no longer have to hold it there anymore. At least that's how I feel. So that's why I think writing is so helpful. And because I've come across this before, I'm going to share this. If you're someone who doesn't like to see your thoughts, because yes, I've had clients who have struggled writing because they don't like to see the proof of their thoughts. Here's what I'm just going to say to that. They're in your head. Okay. They're there. And whether they're running in the background or they're front and center, they're there. We all have them. Okay. Again, they say the average human thinks approximately 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000. Okay. You think those are all happy, nice thoughts? No, no. Listen, we all have thoughts that we can feel bad about, we might feel ashamed about, okay? It's just part of having a human brain. We all have different circumstances, different experiences that cause those thoughts to happen, all right? And so they're there. No one has to read it, okay? No one has to see this ever except you. But if you're willing to try it and just get them on paper and then see how you feel afterwards, listen, you might be like, Amy, that was stupid. I hated it. No, that's not helpful. Fine. I have some other ideas. All right. But you may just say, wow, that was really helpful. I think I might do that again. Okay. So yeah, writing can be helpful. Other things, and I'm gonna direct you back to episode number 12 if you haven't listened to it, or maybe it's been a while since you've listened to it. That was the one about the environmental detox. Here's the other thing, okay? And this is another thing I did this week. I'm just realizing that as I'm talking about this. The environmental detox is what we do in this is we take a look at all the things that we are watching, that we are listening to, that we are reading, that we're giving our attention to, all the things in our environment. Okay. So whether you're on social media a lot, watching the news, listening, like watching certain shows, reading certain books, talking to certain people. Okay. Because yeah, people are a part of our environment, right? You want to notice how these things leave you feeling. Okay. And if they leave you feeling ick, I was looking for the word there. If they leave you feeling if they're more harmful than they are helpful, if they feel more ick than they feel good, right? Then it's time to evaluate and see what changes can be made. And here I'll share an example about what I've done this week. So over the winter break, so we call it here when my kids are out of school, the holiday season, right? Winter break. My husband and I were watching some shows. And we were watching Landman on Paramount Plus, I think it is. And it's pretty good. And we do this a lot. Like we'll find certain shows that we like to watch, and we like shows that have all the episodes and all the seasons there, so we don't have to wait a week. Anyway, we started watching Landman and didn't realize that it was a new episode every week. So we were like, oh no, we need to wait till the entire season is uploaded, right? Because, we're spoiled. We like to binge watch shows anyway. So we decided to look for something that had more episodes and seasons available while we wait for Landman, because Landman is pretty good. Anyway, so we found a couple of other shows. Mayor of Kingstown and Tulsa King. Okay. And you might like these shows. And if you do, like, no shade whatsoever. Okay. Again, this is about the environmental detox. Okay. That's why I'm sharing this. So both are excellent shows. I mean, great actors, stories, all the things, right? But what I realized, and if you've seen either of these, you might know where I'm going with this. What I realized for myself personally is watching both of those shows was leaving me feeling terrible. Like it was just leaving me feeling ick. There's a lot of violence. There's just some of the storyline is just not a show that I want to watch. I wasn't finding it enjoyable. It was leaving me feeling a little bit like wah wah. So I said to my husband, I'm like, you can watch these. Go ahead and watch them without me. I'm not gonna watch these. I had to step away. I've done that with the news. I know I've shared this before. I rarely watch the news anymore. I mean, I watch enough to keep me, informed, but I don't consume a lot of it, right? Because it's not helpful. So yes, and always check your sources. Okay, very important. Anyway, so doing the environmental detox and just recognizing, like, if there's certain shows or if there's certain things you're watching or listening to that just leave you feeling a little bit wonky, then how can you change it? So since my husband's going to watch those shows on his own, I'm going to find some shows that I like. I'm more of a Bridgerton, Downton Abbey, okay? The Gilded Age on HBO Max. Love that. That's more my speed. Little House on the Prairie. Feel good, okay, is what I'm going after. So yeah, so an environmental detox can be incredibly helpful just to notice if there's anything that could be contributing to the feelings, right? To what you're thinking or what you're feeling. And by the way, on that show, like, yeah, I can tell. I'm glad that I made that choice because certain pieces of that show are still sitting with me, and I'm just like, ugh, like no. So do you, like, some people love the shows. My husband will watch that and he's fine with it. I think those of us who maybe are strong empaths or are very imaginative, I don't know what the word is, but they just don't work for me. And they may or may not work for you. But at the end of the day, you got to focus on you, okay? Because what works for you is going to be different than what works for me, right? Because we're all unique individuals here. So you find what leaves you feeling better, okay? And that's the whole point of the environmental detox. Other things that you can do to kind of help yourself get into just help yourself gently getting back into the groove, right? Because again, we're not trying to like do this like instantaneously necessarily, but just ways that can kind of help you clear the space, kind of take a minute and just gently get back into the groove. So we've talked about doing a temper tantrum on paper. We've talked about the environmental detox. Head over to episode 12 if you want to refresh on that. It's really helpful. Move your body. Okay. Move your body, do something. Listen, it doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to be 10,000 steps. Okay. do a walk, right? Walk to your mailbox and back, right? Like, just especially if you're someone who is more sedentary during the day, like I am. I mean, I'm at my desk, right? I sit most of the time. So it's really important and helpful for me to get up and move around a little bit. Again, I'll do like, the YouTube videos, the walk at home video is amazing. And I like that for like 15, 20 minutes. So just a little bit of movement, whatever you're able to do, movement that you're able to do, obviously able to do safely. Okay. Very important. Yeah. And just finding things that help. But at the end of the day, giving yourself some time, being patient with yourself. And listen, patience is something that I have struggled with for most of my life. Okay. I would never say that I'm a patient person. Okay. My husband would agree with you on that. So practicing patience has been really important for me. And doing that, in different ways that I can. So, but being patient, being understanding, cutting yourself some slack, give yourself some grace. Okay. Try these things, see if they help. I hope they do. All right. I could probably go on and on and on. I just want to make sure I got everything that I wanted to talk about today. Yeah. So if you're feeling a little bit like person soup for whatever reason, I hope these things help. And as always, if you would like to get some individual support, please send an email to amy@amyenglishcc.com. I will talk to you next week. Have a good one. Are you ready to break free from stress eating and body shaming? It's time to get fierce. Fat to Fierce is a self-paced program that helps you build a new foundation of strength and balance without the toxic dieting mindset. This non-diet approach focuses on mindful eating, body acceptance, and lasting transformation. It's time to reclaim your power and find peace with food, your body, and yourself. Visit amyenglishcc.com to get started today.